Welcome, adventurers, to a journey unlike any other. Imagine this: a hidden mountain range far from civilization, whispered secrets of ancient caves, and a group of explorers who stumble upon something they were never meant to find. Tonight, you'll join Emma, Chris, and Tommy as their casual weekend hike transforms into an encounter with the unknown, where whispers in the dark and secrets of a lost civilization will keep you on edge. What lies beyond that ancient door they dare to open? And at what cost will the truth be revealed? Stay with us as we dive into The Tomb Mystery, a tale of discovery, fear, and the echoes of the past. Let's begin. It was supposed to be just another thrilling weekend hike. Emma, Chris, and their friend Tommy were adventurers at heart, spending their weekends exploring new trails, climbing rugged peaks, and venturing into uncharted territories. This time, they had set their sights on an isolated mountain range far from any bustling city where few people dared to explore. Rumors whispered of hidden caves nestled among the peaks, but they never anticipated finding something that would change their lives forever. After hours of hiking, the trio paused to rest near a rocky outcrop. It was then that Tommy noticed something peculiar. Behind a cluster of rocks was a large circular stone covered in moss and vines, yet distinctly different from the other formations. It looked as though it had been placed there deliberately centuries ago. With a few grunts and pushes, they managed to roll the stone aside, revealing a dark, narrow passage leading underground. As they peered into the dark entrance, a cold draft blew out, carrying a musty, stale scent that hinted at something ancient lying below. The air was thick and suffocating, and Emma hesitated, feeling a shiver run down her spine. "Maybe we should turn back," she suggested nervously, but Chris and Tommy were already reaching for their headlamps, their curiosity overpowering any sense of caution. The passage was tight, forcing them to walk in single file. The damp walls gleamed under the dim light of their headlamps, casting eerie shadows that danced around them. As they ventured deeper, they noticed strange cryptic symbols etched into the stone. Faded with age but still visible, the carvings depicted scenes of ancient rituals, unfamiliar creatures, and ominous figures. Their eyes seemed to follow the trio as they moved. Emma's unease grew with every step, but Chris and Tommy were too engrossed in the mystery to turn back. The passage eventually led them to a heavy, ancient door locked with a rusted metal clasp. Chris and Tommy's eyes lit up with excitement, while Emma's anxiety spiked. "We should leave," she whispered, her voice trembling. "This isn't right." But Tommy, driven by a sense of adventure, was determined to see what lay beyond. "We've come all this way. We can't stop now," he said, grabbing a rock and hammering at the lock. It was old and rusted, but it took more effort than they expected to break it. With each hit, the sound echoed through the passage as if the tomb was protesting their intrusion. Finally, after several attempts, the lock gave way and the door creaked open, the screeching noise sending chills down their spines. The three hesitated, breath held, unsure of what awaited them on the other side. But there was no turning back now. They stepped into a vast, dark chamber. Their headlamps revealed strange artifacts scattered across the floor, ancient pottery, dusty manuscripts, and small, intricately carved statues that seemed to stare at them. The walls were covered in more of the mysterious symbols, but these were more elaborate, telling the story of an ancient civilization lost to time. Emma's heart raced as she took it all in, a mix of awe and fear. In the center of the room was a large stone pedestal. Resting atop it was a small, dusty box clutched in the skeletal hands of a long-deceased figure. The skeleton wore what appeared to be the remnants of royal robes, now faded and tattered. It was clear that this tomb had been undisturbed for centuries. As Chris and Tommy cautiously approached the skeleton, Emma's unease deepened. "We need to leave now," she said, her voice barely more than a whisper. "We don't know what's down here. It could be dangerous." But Chris was too intrigued to walk away. There was a story here, a mystery begging to be solved. "We'll be careful," he reassured her, though he wasn't entirely sure himself. "We've come this far. Let's at least see what's inside that box." Emma's fear was palpable, but seeing the determination in their eyes, she reluctantly agreed to stay, though she kept her distance, watching for any sign of danger. Chris and Tommy carefully pried the box from the skeleton's grip, feeling a chill as they touched the ancient, brittle bones. The box was wooden, covered in intricate carvings similar to the symbols on the walls, and surprisingly heavy. As they turned it over, they noticed a complex puzzle lock sealing it. Emma, despite her fear, was drawn in by the challenge and stepped closer to examine it. She studied the patterns, her mind racing as she tried to decipher the puzzle. Each twist, each turn, felt like a step closer to unraveling a secret buried for centuries. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, there was a soft click, and the lock released. Emma's hands trembled as she lifted the lid, revealing a gleaming object inside, a golden key. The key was pristine, polished, and intricately detailed, with symbols etched along its length, matching those on the walls around them. "What do you think it opens?" Tommy asked, his voice barely audible. Chris shrugged, his mind racing with possibilities. "It has to be something down here." They began to search the room, shining their lights across every surface, looking for anything that might match the key. They were so engrossed in their search that they almost didn't notice the faint whispering voices drifting in from the dark passage behind them. Emma's blood ran cold as she heard the faint murmurs, barely audible but unmistakable. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Chris and Tommy stopped and listened, straining to catch the sound. There it was again, a soft, distant whisper, like a breeze brushing past their ears. Fear surged through Emma, and she took a step back, her heart pounding. "We need to leave now," she insisted, her voice urgent. But Chris and Tommy, though visibly unnerved, weren't ready to give up. "It's just the wind," Tommy said, trying to convince himself as much as her. "We're so close. Let's keep looking." Despite her fear, Emma found herself joining the search, drawn in by the mystery of the key. The whispers grew louder, more distinct, like a chorus of voices speaking just beyond comprehension. Anxiety mounted, but they pressed on, determined to find whatever the key unlocked. Finally, they discovered a hidden door, barely visible in the shadows, with a lock that matched the key perfectly. Emma hesitated, holding the key, feeling its weight in her hand. "What if opening this reveals something we're not prepared for?" she asked, her voice trembling, but Chris was resolute. "We have to know." With a deep breath, Emma inserted the key into the lock and turned it. The mechanism clicked, and the door swung open, revealing a narrow, dark passageway that seemed to stretch endlessly into the shadows. The passage was colder than the rest of the tomb, and as they stepped through, the whispers grew louder, more frantic, echoing around them. They could barely make out words, but the tone was clear, urgent, fearful, and warning. As they ventured deeper, the air became heavy, and the walls seemed to close in around them. Emma felt eyes watching their every move, unseen but undeniably present. She couldn't shake the feeling that they had crossed a line, entered a forbidden place. Suddenly, from somewhere deep within the passage, a loud metallic clang reverberated, like a door slamming shut. The whispers ceased, replaced by a suffocating silence. Panic surged, and Chris shouted, "Run!" They turned and ran, sprinting back through the passage, the darkness closing in around them. The whispers resumed, louder, more urgent, as if urging them to flee. Emma's legs burned, but she didn't stop, didn't dare to look back, terrified of what might be chasing them. As they neared the entrance, the daylight became visible, a faint glow in the distance. "Don't stop now!" "We're almost there!" Chris shouted. With one final burst of energy, they stumbled out of the tomb, collapsing onto the ground, gasping for breath. Their story quickly caught the attention of local authorities. Archaeologists and police swarmed the site, their expressions a mix of disbelief and awe as they uncovered the tomb's secrets. The tomb belonged to a long-lost civilization, and the artifacts inside were invaluable, offering a glimpse into a forgotten past. Days later, the authorities informed Chris, Emma, and Tommy that other people had been in the tomb, a group of grave robbers. It was they who had sealed the passage, hoping to keep anyone else from finding what they hadn't. They were arrested, but their capture only deepened the mystery of the tomb. Though terrifying, the experience changed their lives. Their discovery was hailed as a breakthrough, and the tomb was transformed into a museum. Chris, Emma, and Tommy became local heroes, their names forever tied to the mystery of the tomb. Years later, they still hiked together, their bond unbreakable. They never forgot the whispers or the fear that gripped them in the dark, but they also never forgot the thrill of discovery. They knew there were more mysteries waiting, hidden just out of sight in the shadows.